This is the first lecture of our course, Psycholinguistics. As you can see from the term itself, psycho has to do with psychology, linguistics has to do with is language. So it's a relationship between psychology, the mental health, and the different neuro aspects, the brain, how the brain processes the language, and the behavior which might help people to produce the language, different mental health which might enable people to produce the language appropriately and correctly. All these has to do with psycholinguistics. So what is psycholinguistics? The study, so it's science of construction, how we construct, build, and understand comprehension of meaningful language, how the language is constructed, and how it is and how language is delivered comprehensively. People comprehend the language, the way they construct it, and the way they produce it. It examines the mental activity, any mental activity, any the processes through the brain necessary for language production. So this is what psycholinguistics examines. It studies how words and syntactic structures, grammar, are used to make sense with the language. Psycholinguistics is the study of the mental mechanism that make the behavior, the brain processes, the signals that we have in the brain that make it possible for people to use language. Every mental mechanism that you have in your mind, in your brain, which might help you to use the language, this is the study of psycholinguistics. It is a scientific discipline because it goes through scientific processes. The main goal of psycholinguistics is a coherent theory of the way in which language is produced and understood. The way you produce the language and the way you understand the language has to be with mental and the appropriate behavior. Alan Garnham, in his book Psycholinguistics, say this is the central topic. Psycholinguistics is the central topic of the. So according to the definition of how do we define psycholinguistics? Progressive production, how the production and understanding of language, the process and the production of the progressive production and understanding of language, this is psycholinguistics. It's a child's acquisition, how children acquire language, and the effects of brain damage on language. Once you have any kind of that brain damage, so this might affect the production of the language or the language abilities. So psycholinguistics asks the question, how is it that people are able, moment by moment, to produce and understand language? How do children come to have this ability? How and why? Is it sometimes impaired after brain damage? How this hampers the production of the language after, if there is any kind of brain damage? Another definition is the study of psycholinguistics is the study of behavior, language behavior. If you know what I mean by language behavior, the way you produce the language, you may speak it slowly, fastly, having that accent, having not that one. You may be sometime that it's not easy for you to speak, and all these we call them language behavior, the way that language is produced and processed. So psycholinguistics deals with learning language and its usage for communication. Ideas in real time, not in an ideal situation. According to Clark, psycholinguistics, this is another definition, deals with comprehension, production, and acquisition of language. The mental process involved in listening, how you listen, if the organs that help to listen, they are okay, that's fine. So this will, the mental process which are involved in listening, speaking, remembering, and learning are of central importance of psycholinguistics. The relationship between psycholinguistics and language. Linguistics, and psycholinguistics. Linguistics, that means the way we produce the language, the scientific way of language production, and psycholinguistics is something has to do with the mental health and the behavior of the language. So according to Miller, linguists are more concerned with correct grammar structure. That means what could be said instead of what people say in real time. The case is different with psycholinguists who capitalize on intuition and are looking for objective evidence. Linguists focus on the system of competence, which enables a person to produce countless but grammatically correct sentences. On the other hand, psycholinguistics focus on performance. They are more concerned with the mental process during language production or comprehension. The history of psycholinguistics. The term was coined by Jacob Cantor in 1933, and a lot had been done under the title of psychology or psychology of language. In his book, An Objective Psychology of Grammar, Jacob, a prominent psychologist, described the discipline of psycholinguistics. The discipline of psycholinguistics. In 1946, Nicholas Bronco published Psycholinguistics, a review after which the discipline of psycholinguistics began to unify. What are the scope of psycholinguistics? The first scope or the first area is the language process, the way we process the language, the way we speak, the way we read, and the way we write. And the extraction of useful information falls in this. The way we process the language, this is one of the areas of the scope of psycholinguistics. Language storage and access, how we store the language and how we produce the language, and how storing and finding of the required vocabulary, and the study of various grammatical forms for even in this area. So these are two scopes of psycholinguistics. The third one is language and brain, how the brain processes the language. The study of neurological activities during listening or reading, and the study of language, linguistic and semantic data falls in this field. So how neuroimaging has provided critical advances in the subdiscipline of neurolinguistics. So psycholinguists provide theories which neurolinguists evaluate with the help of neuroimaging. Neuroimaging providing an insight about language areas of the brain by imaging brain activities. So how the brain processes the language, this is one of the areas of psycholinguistics. Language in exceptional circumstances, the study of infant, for example, language deficiency, and that aging effects on language, how older people produce the language and how infant do produce the language. This aging factor affect the language production, and effects of brain damage fall into this area. First, language acquisition. This is the area where psycholinguists try to answer the question related to first language acquisition, syntax, phonology, and vocabulary development. They gather evidence confirming the existence of an innate faculty for language. According to Noam Chomsky, human beings are pre-wired ready. Because they have that in their mind or brain, which is language acquisition device for language acquisition. He is also of the opinion that individuals with different languages, this is Noam Chomsky, think differently because of the different word order in their respective languages. So language acquisition, particularly mastering grammatical rules, is an important and huge area of studies. Thank you very much. This is the first lecture of our course Psycholinguistics. We are going to be provided by supporting materials which they discuss and explain the same points and topics that I have covered during this class, and there are some activities that you are going to do after listening to the videos and the lecture, and after going and consult or review the supportive materials that I sent via Moodle platform. So thank you very much. See you next lecture inshallah.